Hello, children. Welcome back to Class 4, English Lesson 3. The name of the lesson is Tine and the Faraway Mountain. This lesson is based on a real story of a mountaineer. I'll read the paragraph and explain it to you. In Ichali, in the Mishmi hills of Arunachal Pradesh, young Tine Mena heard a wondrous call from the mountains in the distance. She was drawn to it, a sound only she could hear. She heard it while she climbed trees. She heard it when she ran through the jungle. She heard it when she spent long days lying under the sun. Whoosh! The sound went whoosh. This is a story about a girl called Tine Mena who lived in the Mishmi hills of Arunachal Pradesh, and the name of the place was Ichali. She could hear wondrous call from the mountains in the distance. Wondrous means almost magical call from the distance, from the far away place. When did she hear this? Whenever she climbed the trees, whenever she ran through the jungle, whenever she spent long days lying under the sun, she could hear this noise. What was the noise she could hear? Whoosh was the noise she could hear. Ah, Tine would smile. What a wonderful life. But one day, her family moved out of Ichali to the closest big town, Rowing. Tine's world turned upside down. There was a school in Rowing, but the whooshu had been louder in Ichali. Tine wanted to return to her mountains again. As this girl was enjoying a wonderful time in that place, Ichali, suddenly one day their family moved to a closest big city or town called as Rowing. Now she didn't want to go, but she wanted to go to the school. So they shifted to a closest town called as Rowing. Tine wanted to return to her mountains back again. She did not like the city life because she could not hear the whooshu noise. So she trudged to school every day for 10 years, glancing wistfully at the mountains in the horizon. When she finally finished her schooling, Tine immediately applied to be a porter for army expeditions in the mountain. She would have to carry heavy loads and march over long distances. Now, what did the girl do? She walked with slow and heavy steps because she did not want to do something. Suddenly, she finished all her schooling. Once she finished her schooling, what did this girl do? She applied to be a porter. Porter in the army expedition. Porter means carrying the luggages. In the army expedition means in the journey by a group of people. When they go for a journey, the porters will carry the things. She applied for the post of the porter in the army expeditions in the mountain, where she want to carry heavy loads and walk for long distances. But women were not allowed to be porters in those days. Tine did not let that stop her. She dressed as a boy and started to work, carrying nearly 25 kilos of luggage every day. A whole week passed before everyone realized that she was a girl disguised as a boy. So here, no job was given for a woman to be a porter in those days. But Tine, what did she do? She dressed up herself as a boy. She disguised herself as a boy and she joined the porter in the army expedition, and she used to carry 25 kilos of luggage every day and walk for a very long distance. But this was only for 1 week. After the whole week was passed away, they made out that she was a girl, not a boy. The officers scolded Tine for breaking the rules, but they knew that Tine knew the route better than anyone else, so they allowed her to continue working. Her act would later help lift the ban on female porters. Now, as she was caught by the officers scolded her and for breaking the rules of the army expeditions. But the army officers, they knew that Tyne was very clever and she was a brighter one than all the team members whom they are working with. So, what did they do? They asked her to continue the job. In the army, Tyne worked on many expeditions and soon became a coordinator. It was one of her expeditions as a coordinator that she met Dr. Romeo Meti. At that time, Dr. Meti was working to promote adventure sports in Arunachal Pradesh and immediately identified Tyne's talent. "You are a naturally gifted climber," he told her. "You have the strength and the determination. Now all you need is technique." Now, whom did this girl meet? She met a coordinator. Coordinator means someone who will plan for the trips to climb the mountain. And what was the name? The name of the coordinator was Dr. Romeo Meti. And he wanted to promote adventure sports in the place called Arunachal Pradesh. The coordinator appreciated her and told that you are a naturally gifted climber and you're very determined, you have lots of strength. Only that you need is the technique that how you should climb the mountain. Dr. Meti became Tyne's mentor and she began her training as a mountain climber. The distant mountains still called her, but Tyne did not know the name of the distant mountains till she watched The Race of Everest, a film about the first climb of Mount Everest. Horseshoe became a roar now and climbing Mount Everest became her dream. Now, Dr. Meti, the coordinator, also became her mentor. Mentor means a person who helps, teaches and advises someone regularly. So he became the mentor for her, and what happened one day, she watched a movie, The Race for Forest, and in that film she first saw what is Mount Everest. The noise which she was hearing was heard from that place. She never knew that it was the voice coming from the Mount Everest. Now, once she came to know that the noise was from Mount Everest, climbing that Everest became her big dream. After months of preparations, Tyne finally reached the Everest base camp in Nepal. It was bitterly cold and the air was thin. Tyne trained there for a few days to get accustomed to the harsh weather and then began her climb. The climb was difficult. Now what happened? The mentor trained her, and then after lots of months of preparations, Tyne finally reached the camp in the Everest. And in which place the camp was? In Nepal. Nepal is a hill station and it's very cold there, and Tyne was trained there for few days for accustomed means to used to the mountain and used to that place. And later on what they did, they started to climb the mountain. The mountain climb was very difficult. It was divided into 4 sections so that the climbers could take rest at different campaign points while journeying to the top of the mountain. But by the time Tyne and her companion Chering Sherpa reached the second camp, the weather had grown worse. "Do you want to go ahead?" Chering asked. Now, what happened? The troop, when they go in a troop, they will be dividing the mountain into the four sections so that the hill climbers or the mountain climbers, they should get rest. So what happened here? The climbing steps were four for them. So they can take the rest and then they can climb the mountain. When after the second camp, what happened? As they reached the second camp, the weather became very worst. The wind started to blow very badly. Now Chering, the companion, is asking, do you want to go ahead? I don't think I will get another chance to do this, Tine replied. She could hear the musical whoosh growing louder and louder. It almost hypnotized her. Tine and Chering somehow managed to reach their final camp. Just as they were about to take rest, the stormy wind blew their tent and supplies away. After after they reached the second camp, the wind blew very harshly. So that Chering asked her that, do you want to move further? Till then, Tine is replying that no, I will do this. Here, I don't know. Once again, I'll get this chance or not, but I need to continue my journey. Hypnotized means affected her like a magical spell. The word whoosh was like a magical spell for her. She wanted to go and reach that magical spell's place. So she said that I'm not going to quit. I will do the thing what I wanted to achieve. Now what happened? They reached the final camp. As they reached the final camp, what happened? They were about to take the rest. As they were about to take the rest, the wind blew very harder that their tent and the food items or the things what they brought, everything was taken away by the stormy wind which was blown. They had to spend the night in one borrowed tent, and when they set off for the final climb the next day, all Tine and Chering had was a packet of noodles. Let's share half of it, Chering suggested. Tine nodded her head, smiling determinedly. If we make it alive, we will eat the other half. Now, what happened? As the things, their tent, everything was blown away by the stormy wind, they had borrowed another tent from one of their friend who was a climber with them. So they got a tent, they borrowed a tent, and what was left for them to eat, only one packet of noodles was left. Now Tine's friend Chering suggested that they will only eat half of the noodles, and if their dream come true, what will they do? They will eat the other half of the noodles. They decided, and they only ate half. The higher they climbed, the stronger the wind grew. For every 2 steps they took, it sent them reeling back a step. It shrieked and howled, whispering dread into their ears and urging them to return. But Tine could only hear the magical tune of whoosh. Now what happened? As you go higher and higher up into the mountain, when they take 2 steps forward, the wind was pushing them 1 step back. Again, they were climbing. Again, 2 steps when they climbed, the wind was pushing them back. And what the girl used to hear, Tine only used to hear the magical tune of whoosh. Only she wanted to reach that magical tune. That was her dream. Finally, at 10:45 a.m. on 9th May 2011, Tine's efforts were rewarded. She summited Mount Everest, the highest mountain in the world, the first woman from the northeast of India to have done so. She had found her faraway mountain and was one with the sound that had called her all her life. Now what happened here? Finally, at 10:45 a.m. on 9th May 2011, Tine's efforts were rewarded. Where she wanted to reach, the noise which pulled her like a magical voice, she reached to that place. Summited means she climbed to the top of the mountain, which was her aim. She was the first woman from the northeast of India who have done so. Hope all have understood the story, children. Thank you.